Welcome back to Scratch 3.0. So we have just finished making our sprites move around the screen so they look like they're animated, look like they're alive. But what if we want to either make our own sprite or we want to customize a sprite that doesn't already have a costume uh, in addition to the original one that will make it look like it's moving? So I'm going to stick with my Scratch Cat here. And I'm going to add another sprite that only has one costume. So I want to be able to add another costume so it looks like it's moving around. To show you that really you just have to make some slight changes to the costume so you're able to make it look like it's moving around. It doesn't take a lot. So I'm going to choose a sprite, and I'm specifically going to choose a diver here. Particularly like this diver, he works really well. Now I am aware that the diver is right now in the, not even really in the ocean, but on the sand. So I'm going to change my backdrop too, and I'm going to make my backdrop. Where's the pool? I'm looking for the pool. There it is. And so my Scratch Cat is going to run around up here on the deck. And we should tell him, no running on the deck of the pool, but he doesn't listen. And then the diver is going to kind of move around here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just take these scripts, I'm going to drag it over to the diver, and when I click on the diver, notice he has all the same scripts. But what the diver does not have is extra costumes. So when I click on costumes, you'll see he just has the one. Now, I need to duplicate this so I can have the original one and then alter the other one. This gives us a chance to kind of look at this editor, whether you're drawing something from scratch or you're changing something that's already there. It gives you a chance to look at it. There are two different modes to our editor. There's the vector mode and there's the bitmap mode. If at all possible, it is much better to use the vector mode, which is what we're on now. How do I know this? Because right now it says convert to bitmap. Well, vector is what it's on. You push the button to convert. The nice thing about vector is you can make it get as big as you want and it doesn't lose its quality. But the problem is when I want to do some changes like I'm going to do here, I need to go to the bitmap mode. So I will end up making it a little grainy, and you'll see what I mean right now. When I click this, you can see that it changes just a little bit grainy, and my choices here changed. So I'm going to just go back, and I'm just going to undo. Right here's the undo button. I'm so used to going up to the edit undo, which does not work. So right here is the undo. Notice these options here, and then there are my vector options. So I'm going to duplicate this. How do I duplicate it? I right click on this costume and I select duplicate. So I have two. I'm keeping the first one like it is, but I'm going to change the second one. Now this button right here, this select tool, that's what I'm going to use to make some changes. So I'm going to draw a box over top of this fin. Now I do realize that this fin, I have to be really careful because if I don't, I'm going to pick up some of the other fin. Once I select it, I'm going to rotate this right there. I'm going to rotate it just a little bit. I'm going to move it up so kind of like aligns. Click off. That looks pretty good. I do need the eraser tool. And see that eraser tool is too big. I'm just going to make it smaller right up here. And I'm just going to erase that. Now I moved one fin. I'm going to move the other fin the other way. Just like this. And I'm going to move it downwards. And I'm going to move it over. Oh, sorry about that. I double clicked there, so I'm going to move it here. And there we go. Now, you can see right there where my arrow is pointing that the fin doesn't have the black part. So I'm going to zoom in there. And I'm going to use my paint tool, and I'm going to click on the fill, and I'm going to click the eyedropper here. So that way I can see this color right there. I'm on the black. And then the size, I'm going to make, this is a little too big, so I'll make the size a lot smaller. And I'm just going to gently move it up like that. There it is. I just closed in my fin. So that's the regular size right there. You'll see it. And so if I click here, and then look, as I move it back and forth, you can see his little legs are moving. Now, if you want to get really fancy, I'm going to make it big again. If I want to get fancy, I could move his arms a little bit. I'm not going to, but I could move them or redraw them if I wanted. So you can do a lot of different things. You could add little bubbles that are in one place for one costume and another place another costume, so it looks like he's blowing bubbles as he goes through because he's a scuba diver. But let's take a look and see how this works out for us. So I'm going to click the flag, and now look, his fins are moving. So you can see his feet are moving there. You can make them move more or less depending upon what you want your sprite to look like. So that's how you can use this editor to make some extra costumes. So if you don't have what you want, you can feel free to make your own. One thing that I have found in the classroom is that I have some students who are incredibly artistic and they love making their own sprites. And so not only are they making them, but then they're duplicating them and making multiple costumes. That's really great. The downside of that is it does require quite a bit of time. So you do have to be willing, if you're going to let students use Scratch, sometimes just give them some extra time to make it a little bit more elaborate with their own costumes and their own sprites. Good luck, and we'll continue on learning more about Scratch.